Hi, I'm Andrea Lilienfeld with the K Grant Group, and today I've asked my husband, Geoff Lilienfeld, to join me so we can discuss and share with you what our personal investment strategy is here in Arizona.
So you're probably familiar with the number that over 90% of US millionaires own some sort of investment real estate. That number came from Andrew Carnegie, a billionaire himself. And, essentially, we're always talking to people that are really interested in how can they be part of that 90%, right? Because I think when it comes to thinking about retirement and investing in general, nobody wants to get left behind and, end up in a situation where they've made poor investments or even worse, no investments at all, right? And that's how we ended up wanting to get into real estate ourselves. And not just from obviously a brokering of real estate, but from an investing standpoint too. And we got started with that by purchasing condos here in Old Town Scottsdale.
That would have been back in 2015.
So it's been a while, going on 8 years of those.
And when we decided to get into the real estate market, on the side of actually investing ourselves, and decided that owning rental properties was going to be one of our main pillars, really, for planning for our retirement and our wealth management strategy. We started out, like Geoff said, with 2 condos. We purchased two-bedroom condos on the same day even, right in Old Town Scottsdale, that we decided we were going to turn into Airbnbs.
Yeah, and at that point in time, we were actually doing the light remodeling ourselves. So we were painting, I'm trying to think, changing out hardware.
I'll never forget, we're in there getting the property prepped, and all of a sudden I see Geoff ripping a countertop off. I didn't even know he would know how to rip one off, but...
Which is a little out of character for me, but... I happen to have used to have a past in granite and marble countertops, so.
And it's one of those things as we were getting into it, right? Investors start at all different points. There's investors like we were back in 2015, where we were really needing to do a lot of it ourselves so we could make it profitable and get it up and running. It was the beginning of us building our portfolio. How we attacked that is a lot different than when we buy an investment property now. But that was really how we started in it.
And that's definitely a very cool thing about getting into investing in real estate. And I think that's true with like flipping too, right? You can be at any sort of different level, right? You hear about flippers and you see them that they're in there doing it all themselves. And a lot of times you see husband and wife teams flipping properties, right? I mean, obviously, what's the show that everyone was watching for a little while with Tarek and Christina. Maybe? Yeah. Right, so that's not an uncommon thing. But definitely when it comes to investing in short-term rentals, in longer-term, right, you have these options of, okay, how much of the work are you going to do yourself in terms of any, renovations and remodeling in investment properties? But also you have the ongoing option of, do I hire a property manager or not?
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that's really great for people to understand. Whether you're new to it like we were in 2015, where we purchased the properties for under $150,000, we did the remodeling ourselves. We were paying friends to come help us paint the walls by telling them we had a case of beer and some pizza if they'd come help us paint on a Friday night. Or if it's more on the side of our 5-bedroom property that we now own, and we hired an interior decorator to come in and help us remodel and furnish it and get it up and going. When we first started, we took the direction of we're going to manage these properties ourselves. On the short-term rental side, you're paying a property manager 20 to 25% to manage your property for you. And the margins just didn't work for us as well then. We had a little bit more time, and we cared more about making sure we got top dollar on our property. We needed to have that quick ROI happening, so we managed those properties ourselves.
Yeah, because we just really wanted to maximize the cash that we were getting out of it. It wasn't just about making sure that we were covering our monthly nut, but we wanted to really be cash flow positive on these short-term rentals.
Exactly, and as we built our portfolio with these 2 rentals, we actually added a third 2-bedroom rental to it. When we decided to sell those properties, we utilized a 1031 exchange to help limit the capital gains we had to pay, and we leveled up. We went from having the 2-bedroom condos to having now our Airbnb as a 5-bedroom, 3-bath, single-family home that we purchased using those 1031 exchange funds.
Well, and at the time that we did it, we actually got 2 houses in, I don't know, within a year or 2?
Yeah, it was within like a year
to
year and a half that we purchased. And the other one was a 6-bedroom, 4-bath single family home. So that's another thing. And one of the reasons that owning investment properties is such a big part of wealth building has to do with the fact that not only are you paying off that mortgage that you have, and not you paying it off, those guests, those tenants are really paying off your mortgage for you, but it's the fact that you get the appreciation in the property.
Yeah, I mean, the equity being built comes obviously from both of those things. And I think sometimes, especially our generation, you know, and even those a little bit older than us, they got in, you know, they saw that whole 2007 to 2009 bubble bursting. And I think a lot of people got scared. But at the end of the day, it's one of those things that as long as you're not putting yourself in a position to where you're going to have to sell one of these properties, right? You're not over leveraging. I mean, markets are cyclical. They're going to come up, they're going to go down. And, you know, really from what we've seen, I mean, the biggest thing is you just got to play, right? It goes back to that, you know, you don't want to make bad investments, but even worse, you don't want to not make any investments. That's the worst possible thing you can do. And I mean, we would literally be, you know, over $1 million in equity less if we hadn't just pulled triggers and made those investments. Now, that's not to say it'll never go down and you'll never make an investment where you end up seeing the prices fall, but as long as you're going to maintain that position that you're not going to have to sell the home at some bottom of the market, then, you know, over time you're going to win that bet, right?
And so one thing that we get asked a lot is, so what do you guys own? How do you do it? Our friends want to know, what is our investment strategy? And so we thought we'd share that with you today. Currently at this time, we have the 5-bedroom, 3-bath property that I touched base on just a little bit ago that we operate as an Airbnb property, and we have that managed by a professional property manager. We have a condo over at the Optima Camelview that we rent out as a long-term furnished rental, and we personally manage that one ourselves. And then we own the office space, so we have the commercial space that we rent out as well. And then our own personal property, as well as we've helped my parents actually now purchase a long-term unfurnished property here in Scottsdale that we have professionally managed by an outside company as well for them. So when we tell people this, right, we're not saying it's great to invest in properties and not doing it. We believe in it so much that every year it's our goal to purchase another piece of actual property to add to our portfolio. But people always wonder, you guys are realtors. Why are you paying anyone to manage any of these properties? Why not just do it yourself? You can do it. You're a licensed realtor. And they're right, we could do it. It is something that we're licensed to do. We know how to do. We do on some of our properties, not others. But we're very strategic about it and making that decision of when does it make sense to do a property management company versus when doesn't it? So our larger house, Geoff, if you want to kind of talk a little bit about what made us decide that we no longer wanted to manage the short-term rental and we thought it made sense to hire an outside company to help us with that.
Yeah, there's certainly things, right? Anytime you have any, I mean, a short-term rental Airbnb type house is a business, right? And any business, obviously, there's some work that goes into it. You know, once you're, well, I guess there's really three parts to it, right? There's getting the house up and running. That's, you know, a thing, but it's
step one.
It's step one, but it's, a short term, it's done, and then for the most part, you're good. There's the managing of the bookings, right? So that's on Airbnb and VRBO, right? Actually going in and setting prices and modifying those prices. And then the third piece is, actual guest management, making sure that the home gets cleaned, that sort of stuff. Generally, all of these things are very doable, right? Like there's none of this that you can't do yourself. It's just how much, you want to be on call to do it. One of the things that we found with the property managers, there's really two sides of the expense to them. There's obviously the fact that you're paying the money. Generally, that's anywhere from 20 to 30%, at least in this market right here in the Arizona, Phoenix, Scottsdale metro. But there is another piece of it, which I'm sure that our property manager wouldn't love me talking about. But I think this is going to be true with all property managers, and they are going to get you less revenue. No one is going to be as motivated to get the absolute top dollar for each night that you rent that place as you're going to be. So that's definitely something to think about. We have started seeing around here some property management companies offering to actually not do the booking side and instead to partner with you just to handle guest interactions and actually manage the cleaning piece. So that is another option.
And I think that's a big portion when you talk about the guest management, at least for me, when we were making that decision. I knew that we would be able to keep the property booked, and I knew we were going to make a little bit more. But at the end of the day, time is money, and work-life balance, all that comes into play. And what we saw when we were managing our Airbnbs in the past is you really have to be on call 24/7 if you have a guest.
You do.
People that are booking to stay at your property as a short-term rental, they want to have that same experience as if they're in a resort or a hotel. If they want to watch Downtown Abbey, and I bring this up because we actually experienced it when we were managing, they want to see that season finale of Downtown Abbey. They don't know your TV stations. You get a phone call in a panic. The show starts in 30 minutes. What channel is it? I can't figure out the remote. Can you quick come over? I need you to help me with the input button. I can't figure it out and I need to see this show. And whether or not they see that show is going to make a difference. Do you get a 4-star or do you get a 5-star? And as we all know, those ratings truly matter.
They absolutely matter.
There we are saying, okay, we'll be right over. I can be there in 10 minutes. I live down the street. I'll help you get your TV show going.
And so that does bring up another point, right? In terms of if you are going to get into short-term rentals, or really, anytime you're getting into any sort of business, and whether that's a short-term rental or a long-term rental, there are some nuances to short-term rentals that you're not going to know. So making sure that no matter what market you're in, right, you're going to be lining up a team, whether it's a property manager, it's a real estate agent to help you find that home. You want to make sure that those people really know what they're doing and that they're guiding you along the way, right? Like if you talk to a CPA and you say, hey, I need someone to do my taxes. If you have a decent CPA, their job isn't to do your taxes for this last year. Their job is to help you plan for your taxes in the next year. And so TVs just make me think about that because that's something simple that I wish we hadn't had to learn the hard way what TVs to buy, right? There are very specific TVs that you want to buy that have single remotes, right? Like, so now we buy TCL TVs that have Roku built into it so that they're not going through a whole bunch of screens, hitting input buttons and all that because you don't know who's going to be staying in that house. You may have, an older individual that's not as familiar with technology. And by no means do you ever want to have a cable box. Once you add any sort of, peripheral device, you're in big trouble. So there's definitely things like that to think about. From the real estate agent standpoint, Andrea mentioned, we don't do our own property management. Why would you think we don't do our, I know it might sound weird because we're in real estate, but guess what? We also don't find our own properties. We actually work with, depending on the area that we're looking at, we work with whatever agent is the expert in that area. So we have, one agent specifically on our team that, really deals with a lot of Airbnbs or short-term rental, VRBOs, whatever you want to call them. She really deals with a lot, especially in like that, kind of that 800,000 and up price point. And she just knows that inventory, and it's not a guessing game for her. She's out there, she knows inventory, she knows how to calculate the numbers figure out the cap rates, or if you're not as familiar with real estate investing, cap rate is our term essentially for ROI, your annual return on investment.
And that's so important because there's no reason for you to recreate the wheel with what you're purchasing.
Mm-hmm.
There are people out there that are experts in it,
Yep.
and that they know, they can say, here's a P&L statement from another one of my clients that owns a property just down the street that's the same size. You know what to plan then for your return. You know what works and doesn't work as a whole. Now, if we look at another type of our investment, because I could talk all day about the Airbnb and what we like, what we don't like, all of that. But I think it's important you have kind of an overview of what are the different types of investment vehicles that you can have and that we have and can share our knowledge with. So if you look at our Optima Camel View unit, and that property is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, furnished luxury condo that we rent out on a 12-month basis, and we don't use a property manager on it. Geoff and I actually manage that property. Do you want to touch a little bit on why we made that decision?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, that one's fairly hands-off, right? Being a condo, it's in a building. We don't have a roof to maintain. We don't have a yard. All of that stuff just isn't out there. So what we've done there is, again, utilizing an agent on our team. So, it makes more sense for us to have a real estate agent rent it out because we just know that we're getting the most exposure, most likely to get top dollar, right? We don't want to be penny rich, pound foolish.
And when he says rent it out, what he's really referencing is helping us find that tenant, vet that tenant to make sure we have the right person in place for the next 12 months. Once the lease is signed, the tenant's moved in, that agent's job is done, and now it's our turn to manage that property.
Yeah, and so for us, we just decided we'd rather not pay, for the ongoing property management fee of a property manager, and instead, manage it. It's really very little time that we end up spending on it.
It is, and on the property manager side, when you're looking at those numbers, if you're looking at a 12-month lease, you're normally looking at around 8 to 10% each month that you're going to be paying that property manager. So it's less than on the Airbnb, which you would expect. It's less work to manage that property and that tenant. And one of the main reasons for that is when someone rents a place for 12 months, it becomes their home. They're no longer a guest looking at it as, I can't wait 12 hours for you to fix the hot water. I can't wait a day for you to get an HVAC company out, because everyone knows it just takes time for that stuff. And so it's okay on that long-term rental. We put a home warranty in place. And if there's an issue, we tell the tenant, we'll report this to the home warranty company. They're going to reach out and they'll send a tech out. Tenants are okay with that. They understand what that process is. And we can leverage that home warranty to help us with those long-term maintenance issues. Versus on the short-term rental, someone's only there for 3 days. You better have that HVAC
they expect
fixed
something's fixed immediately.
Within minutes. If it takes more than a couple hours, they're upset. You're going to get a bad review, and they may leave and go to a hotel and ask you to pay for it.
Yeah.
So we just find that the work that goes in to manage that long term, to us, is worth that 8 to 10%. It's not worth a property manager to pay them, because we can do that on our own.
Now, with that being said, managing a luxury condo and managing something less expensive are two very different things, right? We have a tenant in there that has, very high credit score. They are able to ACH the funds to us each month. We just use QuickBooks to send an automated invoice.
We don't have to do a bunch of collection of rent. We know we're going to send them the invoice. It's going to be paid and in our account.
So if you're investing in properties that are at a lower price point, lower monthly rent, you do sometimes end up in situations where the rent collection is actually a piece, and now there is a true monthly event that has to happen. Sometimes that's as extreme as someone needs to physically go pick up the rent each month from that place. Or other times you just know that, there's generally some level of collection issue and there's follow-up and all that. So those are just things to keep in mind. in the property management world, that 8% is fairly standard and surprisingly often doesn't even change that much. And so there's somewhat of an inverse relationship, right? If you have a place you're renting for $800 a month, 8% of that, $64 a month, you're really getting your $64 worth if someone has to go pick up that rent. But if a place is a few thousand a month, well, now you're paying 8% still, so it's $240, and you're probably really doing less, so.
Exactly. The other thing to think about is, where are you in your overall life, and what are you looking for with your investment property? Are you looking to be more active, or are you looking for this to be truly a passive income? You purchase it, and you don't really think about it other than once in a while approving an expense and looking at your bank account and seeing it grow. So
we like bank accounts growing.
We do. I think everyone does. And I think that second is where, kind of touching on my parents' condo, helps paint that picture. My parents are retired, and when they sold some of their farmland, they decided to utilize a 1031 exchange and purchase a condo here in Old Town Scottsdale to rent as an unfurnished long-term rental. And when we went back and forth on, should we manage it for them? Should they be managing it? Should we get a property management company? What makes the most sense? For them, it makes sense to have a property management company. Yes, it costs 8% for them, but they don't want to be actively investing and managing a property. They're retired. This is just another source of passive income that comes in every month.
And let's be honest, that would be us managing that property.
Exactly. And for them, they pay 8%. They don't have to think about anything. They have a home warranty in place. The property management company has the home warranty information to turn in claims. And they only contact my parents if a repair is going to be over a certain dollar threshold that you set. Otherwise, the property management company arranges for all the repairs to be done. And when they get their monthly amount, it's just minus whatever they had for expenses.
Yeah. And so obviously, we've touched on, I guess, the more traditional, and, we don't have time to get deep into it, but if you are ever interested in, some of the tax benefits too of owning investment properties, I mean, those can be incredibly massive, especially depending on the home and the circumstance. We do have a full team of partners that we work with, and we can always hook you up with the CPA to talk to understand that piece. And also on the lending side, if you are buying a home out, as a short-term rental and you're out of state, there's a good chance that you can write that as a second home, and then you're going to have more than likely a lower interest rate, and you could have a lower down payment as well. So
we have lenders and CPAs we can connect you with to help you make that decision. And one thing I think you'll see with both Geoff and I is we're open books. We love talking about investing in real estate and investments as a whole. So if you have any questions at all, or you're even thinking about, should I start dabbling? Should I put my foot into the investment world? Or you're thinking, how do I grow and take my investment portfolio to the next level? Reach out to us. We're more than happy to open our QuickBooks even, show you exactly what it is we've done through the years, what are the expenses, all of that. And we'd love nothing more than to visit with you about it. So any questions at all, definitely reach out to us. I can be contacted at 480-387-3990. And feel free to give me a call or just shoot me a text. Look forward to hearing from you.